Professor Castaneda.
Right.
Welcome in Marrakesh.
It's great to be back.
You have been, and you are, a great professor of political science and Latin American studies and former Foreign Secretary of Mexico. Now, you have been teaching in ever more dangerous place in Mexico. Masses of immigration coming into Mexico. There's a growing crime. What is the solution for that problem, if there is any?
Well, the solution, there isn't. The main element that is missing for now is that there has been no real economic growth in Mexico for the past 5 years. And thus means that a lot of people are emigrating from Mexico to the United States. Plus, there are an enormous amount of people coming from Cuba, from Venezuela, from Central America, from Haiti also, through Mexico to the United States because of the crisis in those countries. Cuba is going through the most difficult moment probably of the history of the revolutionary regime, with more people than ever leaving the island. They all go through Nicaragua and through Mexico to the United States. So the first solution is to try and improve the situation in those countries. The case of Cuba, by eliminating the sanctions and at least going back to the Obama normalization. The case of Mexico, by having Mexico change its economic policy, which under President López Obrador has been a complete disaster. And the third thing to do is that in the Central American countries, there has to be a vigorous effort to eradicate corruption, to eradicate crime there. So put all this together, and with time, you will solve it. Now, in the meantime, the Americans have to let these people in because many of them have legitimate asylum claims. Others are ambiguous. It's part political, it's part economic. It's hard to say which is which.
But you mentioned...
And to be really simply, and thirdly, because given the size of the United States, 330 million inhabitants, 15,000 Haitians is nothing. They're exaggerating. The Americans are exaggerating.
You mentioned Central American countries, let's say Nicaragua, Salvador, and then all these countries. They have been with this problem for a long time, and the rigorous politics which you just mentioned, are they applicable?
Well,
and how?
It depends on the country, it depends on the moment. For example, Nicaragua was not an emigration-generating country until 2 or 3 years ago. Now it is. Many go to Costa Rica, but many now are going to the United States. Why? Because they have a dictatorial regime which no longer is able to deliver economic growth, and people want to leave. Well, you know, you can't have it both ways. The United States cannot both support or not live with dictatorial governments or corrupt and inefficient governments like the Mexican one, authoritarian governments like the Salvadorian one, and then not expect their people to leave. They do. They leave. The same is true with Haiti. Haiti is in a catastrophic situation now, with the gangs running the city, running Port-au-Prince. So but nobody wants to send a peacekeeping operation to Haiti because although people want to pay for it, nobody wants to participate in it. Well, you can't have it both ways. If you don't want to take care of Haiti, then Haiti will leave.
And Haiti will go where? I mean, Haiti is not...
The Haitians, they will go to the United States. Yes, they will.
If they can.
Well, they have been able to, and they can.
If you look at these problems like Haiti you mentioned and Mexico, isn't that similar in Europe? The Africans coming across the Mediterranean and they are the Europeans try to stop them, but it's impossible to stop
It's
them.
impossible. And in the case of the Syrian and Afghan refugees who came through Turkey 6 years ago, Chancellor Merkel made a deal with Turkey, with Erdogan, whereby he would keep them, but he got a lot of money in return.
He's blackmailing also.
Yeah, with 12 billion euros, which is a lot of money. It's a form of blackmail, but you know what's worse than blackmail? Doing the dirty work and not getting anything for it. That's what Mexico does.
Yes, but
we do the dirty work like Turkey does, but Turkey gets money for it. We don't get any money.
That means the Mexicans are not smart?
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
But what is the solution for all these movements? We have about 100 million refugees in the world, plus 100 million. So what do we do to stop all of that? There are problems in Asia, as you mentioned, Afghanistan, Iran, Bangladesh, you name those countries, you know. What can we do? What can the Western societies do? It's not only money. We have to train them, or what do we do?
Well, first of all, I think if the premise is how do we stop them,
yes.
The premise is wrong. You do not stop them. The idea is how do you assimilate them, how do you accept them, how do they become productive, constructive, useful citizens or residents of your countries in the same way that the Central Americans and South Americans do so in the United States. Europe is getting old, tremendously old, needs people from abroad. It's not that Europeans don't need them and what are we going to do with all of these people? They're the ones who are going to work, and they're the ones who are going to pay into your pension funds so that the elderly in Europe have money with which to finance very generous and very dignified and very worthwhile pensions. But you need the workers like the Americans need them today. Why do you think there is this enormous scarcity of labor power in the United States with salaries going up to the ceiling? Well, because there's not enough people willing to do the low-skill, low-wage jobs.
So what is then the reluctance of both governments? I mean, both governments, both parties. The Democrats are not hot on people coming in, and the Republicans certainly at all.
Well, because they're both hypocritical. They want to appear as being against them, but they both know that they don't stop them. And they keep coming. More people were detained than ever before the last year. So imagine how many people got through if 2.3 million were caught.
Let me ask you a last question. The comparison of Africa with Mexico, South America, Central America, is that justified, or what are the similarities?
I think the similarity is that we have a world which, as everyone says, is increasingly globalized. But what the countries from the north and the more conservative sectors of the rich countries have not wanted to accept is that if you have globalization or free circulation of goods and services and capital, you will have it of labor also. But you don't want to make it legal. If you don't make it legal, it happens without being legal. It happens anyway, whether you like it or not. It's like drugs. You make it legal, fine. You don't want to make it legal, it still happens.
And they still go to jail?
The kingpins don't go to jail.
Professor, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back here.
Glad to see you.